All right, so welcome everyone. Everybody's talking about healthcare in America. Well, how can you fix it? What can be solved? What can be done about it? Trump has a new healthcare thing. We're going to get into that. We're also going to talk about Jimmy Kimmel and his monologue last night. If you didn't see it, it's an amazing story. It's a very touching, very heartwarming. It's very dramatic. We'll get to that in a second. But my thesis tonight: the reason why Americans will never go for a single-payer system like they have in every other country, successful country in the world, is because in America, poverty is viewed as a character flaw. If you're poor, it's your fault. You must have not done something right. You must not have taken full advantage of everything America has to offer, the land of opportunity to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and to become great like you're destined to be if you're an American. Now, we all know that's bullshit. The best way to make sure you're not poor is to be born into a rich family, which you have no control over. But anyways, okay, so how does that relate to healthcare? Well, and Jimmy Kimmel. So last night, Jimmy Kimmel went on television and he told an amazingly touching story, and again, I highly recommend you go watch it. He had a son last week. His wife had a son. The son was born. I have two kids. As soon as a child is born, even leading up to it, your only concern in life is the health and well-being of your child. So I can't even imagine what Jimmy went through, what Jimmy and his wife went through. The son had to have open heart surgery, days old. If you have kids out there, you know this is every parent's nightmare. All you do, as soon as you have a child, all you do is worry about the well-being of your kid. So I can only imagine what he went through. He returned to work. He got on the show and he told this story. And again, I highly recommend. I'm going to play a little bit of it. I highly recommend going and finding this online because it really is an amazing story. It's very touching. And it's something that everybody who's ever had a kid can relate to. But at the end of it, this is what got everybody talking. Jimmy Kimmel starts talking about the American healthcare system and how everybody should have a right to healthcare, even if you can't afford it. In Canada, where I'm from, that seems like a very reasonable thing. In Europe, it's very reasonable. If you're sick, you should be able to go to a doctor. Your health shouldn't be tied to your wallet. But in this amazing country, it is for some reason. We're going to get into that in a second. And again, I love America. And I love Americans. And I love this country. But the healthcare system is 100% fucked. And we're going to get into that in a second. I'm Daryn.Jones. You're watching Daryn.Jones Live. Welcome. Hop into the old chat room. Joanne's here. Jamie's here. Carly, Ben Affleck. Good to see you all. Okay, so let's get into Jimmy Kimmel's monologue. This again, it was amazing.
Thank you, Sylvia. And most of all, I would thank my wife, Molly, first of all, for allowing me to have sex with her in the first place. That was huge right there. And so few have done that.
Good joke.
All people being so strong and level-headed.
This is after he went through the whole ordeal at the Children's Hospital where his son was born. He had to go through surgery, which again is I can't even comprehend that.
And positive and loving during the worst nightmare a new mother could experience. I couldn't ask for a better partner. I'm so happy we had this baby together. I'm definitely getting a vasectomy after this.
I hear that.
And I want to say one other thing. President Trump last month proposed a $6 billion cut in funding to the National Institute of Health.
Okay, so this is when he gets into the political stuff. And again, if you're from Canada, if you're from a European country where you don't have to think about your wallet before you go see a fucking doctor, this is just like, makes perfect sense. But in this country, if you're poor, it is your fault. It is something that you did wrong. That is why you don't have good health care. That's the mentality baked into everything. The same with the gun laws and religion. It's all baked into what it is to be American. If you didn't make it in America, somehow you are to blame.
And thank God our congressman made a deal last night to not go along with that. They actually increased funding by $2 billion, and I applaud them for doing that. Because more than 40% of the people who would have been affected by those cuts to the National Institute of Health our children, and it would have a major impact on a lot of great places, including Children's Hospital in Los Angeles, which is so unbelievably sad to me.
Well, why is this shocking, though? You know who gets fucked over all the time? Poor people and children. Always. The people who can't speak for themselves, who have no advocate, that's who gets fucked over. But anyways, continue, Jimmy.
We were brought up to believe that we live in the greatest country in the world, but until a few years ago, millions and millions of us had no access to health insurance at all.
Think how fucked that is.
2014, if you were born with congenital heart disease like my son was, there was a good chance you'd never be able to get health insurance because you had a pre-existing condition. Think of
how insane that is. If you're not from the States, think of how insane that is. The idea that you don't get coverage because you happen to be born with a defect. And here's the problem. Here's the other problem. The healthcare system, the way it's set up is Americans like to believe that I'm not paying. Why should I pay for somebody else's healthcare? But the problem is when you're super poor and you can't go to a doctor to see something, you only go to the emergency room for treatment at the last possible moment. So that means you're going to the most expensive place. You're not paying for it because you can't, and Americans won't let you die in the street, thank God. So now you go to the hospital, the most expensive thing. You probably some treatment beforehand could have prevented all this from happening, but no. So Americans pay so much fucking money in their healthcare system. A lot of it is treating people who left it so long they had to go to emergency. But okay, continue, Jimmy.
You were born with a pre-existing condition. If your parents didn't have medical insurance, you might not live long enough to even get denied because of a pre-existing condition. If your baby is...
So if you're born with a shitty heart to poor parents, you deserve to die, is essentially the rules of the country. Okay.
Going to die, and it doesn't have to. It shouldn't matter how much money you make. I think that's something that, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or something else, we all agree on that, right? I mean,
But they don't. That's the crazy thing. And we'll get into that in a second. And again, if you're just joining us, I'm Daryn.Jones. You're watching Daryn.Jones Live. I highly recommend you go watch the first 10 minutes of this monologue. It is heart-wrenching, it is touching, and if you're a parent, you can absolutely relate to this. And here we are talking about healthcare. Why won't Americans take a single-payer system like every other country in the world? I wonder why. Could it be because the insurance companies pay for all their politicians? Could it be that? All the lobbyists? Could it be that? I don't know. That's a stupid idea.
Whatever your party, whatever you believe, whatever you support, we need to make sure that the people who are supposed to represent us, the people who are meeting about this right now in Washington, understand that very clearly. Let's stop with the nonsense. This isn't football. There are no teams. We are the team. It's the United States. Don't let their partisan...
But if you want to really stop with the nonsense, you could talk about how the lobbyists pay for the politicians to go and they write the laws for the politicians that they bought. But if you really want to get serious about it. But okay, continue.
Squabbles divide us on something every decent person wants. We need to take care of each other.
And again, this is an amazing monologue, totally heartfelt and touching, and he brings up some amazing points.
I saw a lot of families there, and no parent should ever have to decide if they can afford to save their child's life. It just shouldn't happen. Not here. So, anyway, thank you for listening. I promise I'm not going to cry for the rest of the show. Please say a prayer for or send positive thoughts to the families with children who are still in the hospital now because they need it. And thanks. We have a special show tonight. We'll be right back with Dr.
I mean, it's just amazing. And how can you not see that and be touched by that and go, holy fuck, you're 100% right. Healthcare should be a right. If you're sick, you should be able to go see a doctor. Your health should not be tied to your finances. Everybody believes that, right? Cue the assholes. Joe Walsh he's a shit stain. Sorry, Jim Kimmel. Your sad story doesn't obligate me or anybody else to pay for somebody else's health care. I mean, what are we doing? Fuck that. Fuck, if you're sick, fuck you. That's what that is. That's the American mentality, as according to Joe Walsh. If you're sick, I'm sorry, but fuck you. If you weren't smart enough to be born into wealth, or you didn't invent something amazing. If you're not Elon Musk and you invented something amazing, fuck you. Why should I have to pay for somebody else's health care? Well, you actually do, because when super poor people go to the emergency room and they can't pay for it, they get treated and you get paid, you pay for that. Yeah, but that's not the point. That's not the point. And I've been here for a while and I have some ideas and thoughts about the healthcare system here. But welcome. I want to hear from you as well. We're live in the chat right now. A lot of people here. Adam, what's up? Hi, Daryn. Jamie, what's up? Healthcare is all for profit. Universal healthcare like us is not rocket science. It's common sense. Hey guys, good morning. Scar, what's up? Good to see you. Daniel, lobbying should be illegal. It's crazy. Like, okay. So I got a lot of thoughts and a lot of things to say about this. But you're right. The lobbying should be illegal. The problem is, the other thing is, the whole Obamacare thing, it's not perfect or even great either. Because the problem is, if you don't work for a company and you don't have proper health care, or you're not under their plan, you have to pay for it. So if you're out of work, you have to pay for a plan. Well, guess what? When you don't have money, it's very hard to pay for a plan. It's very hard to get money to pay for the plan. And the whole point of Obamacare was, we got to bring everybody in so that the healthy people pay for the sick people. Oh, you mean like universal healthcare and single payer everywhere in Europe and Canada that works like fucking amazingly well? And also, if you're from Europe or Canada, you don't have insecurity because of finances and health. And if you do get sick, the last thing you should worry about is your health. But okay, continue. So the problem is, if you're super poor and you're on like Medicaid, like the state medical system. The problem is you can't go to any doctor because the doctors won't accept Medicaid. They only accept the specific Blue Crosses or Blue Shield or whatever the healthcare plan is. So that's a problem. So you can't even get into a doctor. You got to go to the shitty walk-in or the shitty ER anyways, where the lineups are insane. And if you're poor, you probably can't leave your job anyways to go line up for healthcare. But okay, that's another point. Let's get into this. Joe Walsh, we agree. That's a shit-stained thing to say. And again, if you're just joining us, we went through the Jimmy Kimmel monologue. It is absolutely beautiful. But Jimmy's very rich. He hasn't had to worry about monthly payments in quite some time. I'm just saying, when you're not as rich, these are not revelations. The idea that the healthcare system hurts and it's hard to pay for things. And families do worry about rent or healthcare or food. Healthcare is tied to your finances 100%. And again, I said it at the top of the show, if you're poor in America, that is a character flaw. It is your fault because you couldn't fucking figure it out. The New York Times went through the whole thing. Jimmy Kimmel's emotional monologue, his son's heart condition. And it goes through it. Here are the choice quotes. Mr. Kimmel eventually turned towards politics, decrying the idea that anyone should be denied access to health insurance and coverage for pre-existing medical conditions. Come visit Canada, it's really nice there. And we actually don't line up to see our doctor for days and years like you've been lied to. It's actually quite good. There are problems. There are problems with every system, but it's actually really good. About which President Trump has been unclear. Many people are concerned about the loss of coverage, and Mr. Kimmel captured their fears. And by the way, speaking of, okay, so we talked about, and I'm jumping all over the place tonight, but fuck it, hop in the chat, correct me where I'm wrong. And these are my personal anecdotal stories and my opinions, so take with a monster grain of salt. So people also think that, oh, if you work for a company, you've got the health care, you got the plan, you're good to go. But what people in Canada don't realize, if you got like a great job in the States, your salary, they still take hundreds of dollars a week out of your salary to pay for your health coverage. Okay, so if your plan is like gold plated or whatever, you're still paying $100, $200, $300 a week or every 2 weeks to maintain the coverage. Then you go to the doctor, the copay is $20. You go to the emergency room, it's $100. So, and if your plan is shitty, like if you work at a shitty place and you've got the shitty plan, you pay every month plus the coverage doesn't kick in until you paid like $6,000 out of pocket. The whole thing is fucked up. So that leads people to go, fuck, I'm not going to go to a doctor. I'm not going to get this checked out. My toe checked out. Fuck it, I'll leave it. Then you go to the emergency room and it costs America even more. But they don't want to hear about that. Okay. As Kimmel said, we are brought up to believe that we live in the greatest country in the world, but up until a few years ago, millions and millions of us had no access to health insurance at all. Like, think about that. I hope our kid doesn't fall off his bike. Because we can't afford that. Before 2014, if you were born with a congenital heart disease like my son was, this is Kimmel talking, there was a good chance you'd never be able to get health insurance because you had a pre-existing condition. So it's like the pre-existing condition is also tied to morality. Like if you are a smoker or a drinker and you come in with a pre-existing condition, it's fuck you. It's your fault. That also ties to the people. If you had cancer before and you come in, fuck you for having cancer before. You should have been better at your body. It's really interesting stuff. So we went through the Jimmy Kimmel thing. Then Joe Walsh says this, and this is not a unique thing, by the way. This idea that why should I pay for yours? Why should I have to pay for yours? Ignoring the fact that you actually do when people go to the emergency room. But okay. So right now, old Donald Trump is trying to push this tax cut disguised as a healthcare plan, the America Health thing. They want to chop out the pre-existing conditions. The Republicans, they just want, basically, if you're a bloody stump and you can move around, you'll be fine. Put some butter on it. That's their mentality. And again, if you can't afford it, fuck you for not being able to afford it.
Mr. Vice President, you have the votes on health care? You're going to get it passed?
The Republican effort to repeal and replace Obamacare in jeopardy again.
This is the second crack at it. Because what they've also realized is regular Americans, people who have to work for a living, go, wait a second, I'm going to get sick. That's the thing. Car insurance is one thing. Health insurance is another thing. You may have car insurance and never get into an accident. It's fine. That's what you do. Good for you. You will get sick. You will go to a hospital. Eventually, everybody's number gets called. And if you're poor, you shouldn't get the same treatment. Oh, and do you want to talk about maternity leave?
The White House ramping up pressure on House Republicans to bring the new bill to a vote this.
By the way, I'm Daryn. If you're just joining us, I'm Daryn.Jones. Usually last time we talked about the Fire Fest and Ja Rule, but we talk about things that are in the news. If you're talking about it, we're talking about it. And you guys were talking about the Jimmy Kimmel monologue all day today, and it was so touching and amazing. So fuck it, we're having a discussion about healthcare tonight. That's what we're doing on the show. Welcome. If you're just joining us for the very first time, I'm Daryn.Jones. You're watching Daryn.Jones Live. Velta says, Kimmel is smart to use his voice in this way. It has more influence lawmakers than any protest. Scar, I'm from a third world country where hospitals and healthcare has already gone to hell, but listening to this, I'm shook. Like, what the fuck? What third world country are you from? I'd love to know. The only thing that made me mad in regards to healthcare was when I had to get my doctor to sign a sheet for my driver's license and I had to pay $100 for a signature. You pay $100 in America for everything. My parents long warned me about the fucked up business. If you're American, I want to hear from you. Maybe I'm off base. Maybe it's me.
This week, despite wavering confidence in its fate.
Do we have the votes for healthcare? I think we do.
We're getting closer and closer every day.
And that's a great shot. That's good. We're looking at his soul right now, and I do not like what I see. So now they got to get rid of Obamacare because you got all these poor people with insurance, and how dare you? But again, Obamacare's fucked up because the premiums are still too high. If you don't have money, you can't magically have money to pay for things like your insurance. That's the problem. And also, you can't leave a job or quit a job because then you lose your insurance. So you're tied, you're strapped, you don't know what to do. Single payer, guys. Maybe the lobbyists shouldn't have all the control in the country. I don't know.
But we're not there yet.
CNN's latest whip count has 21 House Republicans planning to vote against the bill, which means they can only afford to lose one more vote or it fails. A big gamble for President Trump, considering 18 other lawmakers remain undecided. Some Republicans warning the no count could be even higher.
There are probably a few more no votes than 21 at the moment. I don't know what the exact number is. I've heard numbers saying it's within 2 or 3 votes and as many as 10.
So again, this is the insurance companies, the lobby of the insurance companies, making sure this doesn't pass because they don't want to give out free healthcare. They don't want costs to go down because then they make less. Because it's good business for people to get sick.
So I would suspect it's probably closer to 10 than 2 or 3.
The core issue, how patients with pre-existing conditions will be covered under the new plan.
Isn't that amazing? Kimmel's talking about last night. That's exactly the issue. As soon as you put a real face to it, as soon as you put a real story to it, like Jimmy Kimmel and his new baby, people go, oh, fuck, yeah, that is a serious thing. But when you just think about it, some lazy, poor person, people go, oh, it's just why should I have to pay for them? But then you put a face to it, you're like, fuck, we should pay for them.
President Trump insisting the bill will protect them, telling Bloomberg News, "I want it to be good for sick people. It's not in its final form right now.
Okay, we'll see what
It will be
happens.
every bit as good on pre-existing conditions as Obamacare."
So why is in such a hurry to get rid of Obamacare again? I just can't remember what is the reason? Oh, right, because it's named after Obama. Your team hates him.
But the bill actually allows states to apply for a waiver, allowing insurers to raise premiums on those with pre-existing conditions.
The old fuck you for being sick condition. That's good. Oh, you had cancer? Fuck you.
A change that's attracted House Freedom Caucus members, but alienated moderates.
I like how the Freedom Caucus members are like, oh, you mean we'll punish sick people and poor people? I like this.
In a surprise defection, Congressman Billy
You're telling me that guy doesn't have a pre-existing condition? You're telling me that this isn't a moral issue? That this isn't a character flaw? Come on, let's check your cholesterol. Is that a pre-existing condition?
Long, who supported the first bill, withdrawing his support, complaining it strips away any guarantee that pre-existing conditions would be covered and affordable.
Why are you trying to
President
take it away?
Trump's
Why are
lack
you
of
trying to take it away?
understanding about what's in the bill growing more apparent. The White House attempting to clarify the...
That was amazing, by the way. His lack of understanding. Numbnuts here didn't read the thing.
President's mixed messages.
What the president is doing is ensuring going forward, as we attempt to repeal it and replace it, that coverage of pre-existing conditions is at the core of that. So that is something that he has ensured is in the current bill and will continue to push for.
So I don't know why they're trying to get rid of it. It sounds like they don't know why they're trying to get rid of it either. But
Is this going to pass today?
Who cares? I guess that's that. The point is Joe Walsh doesn't want to pay for anybody, except he inadvertently does. One more thing to show you. And my final point in all this, and by the way, I'm Daryn.Jones. You're watching Daryn.Jones Live. Congress won't even use their new bill, says Jamie. Joanna, I agree. Jamie, insurance companies are a business. The biggest reason why there's a problem with single payer in the U.S. Absolutely. 3 businesses that are guaranteed to bring you money in the U.S., healthcare, taxes, and death. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So the problem with all this, in my opinion, when you have your health tied to your finances, you get paranoid and nervous and afraid. And I just get the sense that we're getting to the point where people are so paranoid and so afraid of their little tiny piece of the pie being taken away that we're at the boiling point. And I'm not saying that what we're about to watch is a direct result of that, but I'm just saying everybody's kind of boiling right now. Am I wrong? Here's a fight on a plane from Japan to Los Angeles. This is what's normal now. This is the norm now. Fuck you. I don't trust you. Get out of my face. That's what's happening now. We all need to take a big deep breath. We all need to just chill. I said this before, we need to fucking chill. We need to look at each other as actual human beings and consider how that person is feeling. Because we're all tied into this thing together. I'm Daryn.Jones. You've been watching Daryn.Jones Live. And again, I highly recommend you watch the Jimmy Kimmel monologue talking about his son who was born with a pre-existing heart condition. Jimmy's rich, so he was able to get the best doctors in the world to look at his son. And his heart has been opened, not to say it wasn't before, to the problem and the plight of people who are not as financially secure as he is. So I'm glad that Jimmy and his family are safe and okay, and it's a beautiful monologue. I highly recommend you go see it, go watch it. It's remarkable stuff. But I worry that in the U.S., until they remove the idea that if you're poor, it's a moral failing, it's your fault, they will not take care of poor people. That is my belief. I hope I'm wrong. And also get rid of the fucking lobbyists. Are you insane, people? Are you crazy? Are you crazy? The people in charge, the politicians, should be representing you, not the lobbyists. Have a great night. Tomorrow night will be lighter. I promise. Hit a like, hit a subscribe, hit a wank, do whatever you got to do. I'm Daryn.Jones. Spread the word. I'll see you tomorrow.